Okay, it's time to discuss our class for the week, and we are into, wow, we're almost into March. So, time is marching on. That was a terrible pun. Anyway, well, let's see. A reminder, active learning assignment is due at the end of next week, and next week is our open week. It's spring break at Northern. I know that it's probably not spring break where you are working, but spring break at Northern, but I went ahead and put this active learning project due March 10th at 11:59 p.m. And that's the project where you will use some kind of technology to support active learning, whether it's a classroom response system or a smart board, interactive whiteboard, and also implementing that lesson in a class. And I think I've spoken to everyone who might not have a class available to them to implement this for what you can do for an alternative, but I think that involves, writing a paper about the other technology type that you didn't choose, whether it was classroom response system or interactive whiteboard. Anyway, so this is going to include implementing the lesson and reflecting on the experience, about successes, challenges, and ideas for redesign if you were to teach the lesson again. So that's what's due next week as a reminder, but we are moving into a different unit now, focusing no longer on active learning but on makerspaces, and this is constructive learning. And makerspaces really have the power to support constructive learning in a lot of great ways. So I wanted to introduce the makerspace assignment that is a part of this class, and the challenge that I have for you to do a makerspace experience somehow for your class or for a group or working with somebody from your school. So this assignment is due March 17th, and so you can find it under March 12th through the 17th. It's the week after spring break in our class, Experimenting with Technologies and the Constructive Makerspace assignment. So here it is. Makerspaces are becoming more and more popular, and they're open learning experiences in which students are allowed to work independently to create something interesting or useful. And they might practice things like science, technology, mathematics, and or engineering concepts as they go through this. There's just a lot of open learning going on where students learn also maybe the 3 C's: communication, collaboration, creativity. There's just a lot that they can learn through this process. So they support constructive learning, in which students must articulate what they have accomplished and reflect on their activity and observations. So reflecting on, I think I would rephrase this if I was going to say this again, because articulation and reflection really are a result of being puzzled by something. And when students are in makerspaces, they may be trying something out. Let's say they're building a machine, an inclined plane that makes a marble roll down. And let's say the marble rolls off the edge. So they're puzzled by the fact that this is happening. They don't want this to happen. And so they have to reflect upon it, what they can do to fix it, and then articulate that by sharing what they can do to fix it or talking about. So those are the ideas that relate to constructive learning. Anyway, your assignment is to create an information sheet. You will need to choose a Makerspace item and create an information sheet on this item. The information sheet is used to help K-12 students get started in Makerspace by introducing the item, sharing what it can do, and suggesting some possible things that K-12 students could do with the item. And the Makerspace items that you can create an information sheet for include any technologies that are available to you to support constructive learning, in which students must manipulate things and try to make sense of the experiences they have, reflect on their learning, and articulate their understanding of what is happening. So I have a bin, and some of you may be familiar with my bin of Makerspace items, but I do have a bin of Makerspace items that allow students to do these kinds of things. And some of the things in that bin include Makey kits, Dash Robot toy that allows students to play with that, Spheros. What else do I have? Snap circuits, where they can build circuits pretty easily. Little Bits, where they also build electronics and circuits. And those are the kinds of things that we're talking about here, at least from this side of things. Although I have had students come up with a lot of other things, like being able to make paper airplanes. There's just a simple one, making a paper airplane and trying different things out to make the paper airplane work. Or just a lot of other ones made out of paper that students are creating. And so as you learn about makerspaces this week, you'll kind of get an idea for what ones might work in your classroom. But I did want to mention that this bin is available for checkout. It just might not be available the entire time until this assignment is due, but it is available to you if you wanted to check it out. And it can cover a whole class, I think. It can do usually your whole class can be engaged with the bin as long as students are in groups of 3 or 4 for each item. So that's something you could think about for the next part of the assignment. But anyway, the information sheet should include the following things: name and picture of the makerspace item, a subtitle that shares what the item can do, 2 to 3 suggestions of what you can do with the item, including very basic steps for each, and 3 to 5 extra challenges that K-12 students can do with the item that go beyond the 2 to 3 suggestions above. And then quality, grammar, and spelling overall. So that's one part of the assignment, and that will be due March 17th. The second part of the assignment is not due until the end of class, and that is organize a makerspace experience for K-12 students. And some kind of experience where students have the opportunity to manipulate things, observe the results, articulate and reflect on those results, to engage in constructive learning. And one of the things that I think a lot of teachers get hung up on is that this makerspace does not have to be related to any subject area specifically. It doesn't necessarily have to cover a content standard, for instance. It can just be a time of exploration and creativity. So that's the other part of the process. So what you're going to do is you're going to describe the makerspace experience you organized. You're going to share what evidence of constructive learning you saw during the experience, and some experiences that happened or things that students did to help you know that constructive learning happened. And then list some challenges and ideas for a new makerspace if you're going to do it again, challenges you had for this time. So that's what that's about. And usually as I think about this and as I share this, it could just be just a 45-minute time period, even maybe a 30 or 40-minute time period. It could be longer, obviously, but where students are given this opportunity to do some constructive learning in a makerspace type environment. So if you don't know what a makerspace is, that's what the content is for this week, and I believe the next time we get back together after spring break, we'll talk more about it. But so take this week to learn about what a makerspace is and to move toward this. So I'll just show you what we have during this week for you to do. So we have videos on educational makerspaces, and there are elementary, middle school, and high school type of makerspaces that you can look at. And so you'll watch those videos about what people are doing for their makerspaces. And then you have some readings in here. This is going to be, come on up here, on Makerspace Concepts. So these are some great articles that were written. They're very seminal, I would say. They're articles that really kind of set the stage for makerspaces and talk about the philosophy and how to implement a makerspace. And I think some key items to take away here is that it's a place where failure is okay and mistakes are okay, and where we can also, students are given an opportunity to learn on their own. It's more of an individual thing, and they can go and learn on their own. It's not teacher guided. So you'll read about the philosophies of makerspace in those articles. And then you're going to take a look at an example video for the discussion this week and how constructive learning occurs. And then think about, share what kinds of makerspace materials, equipment, or technologies do you have access to. So it could be a mobile app on a device too. Students playing and learning in that process. Maybe they're making something on that mobile app. Computer games, programs, websites, not computer games, but computer programs, websites, maybe simple materials such as toilet paper tubes and cardboard. Looks like I spelled toilet wrong here. Better fix that. So, and then you'll look at a Makerspace information sheet assignment example, and that's a Dash Robot one that I created. And this isn't actually too hard to create. So here's the one about Dash Robot. There are steps for the basic things like controlling Dash, making a path for him, and programming him. And then there are extra challenges for students to do when they have Dash. That way, if it's got an information sheet next to it, when students get to the Makerspace, they have some ideas about what they could do and what they could spend time doing with that item. So that's the week. Yeah, we talk about makerspaces this week. So kind of get the idea of what this is about from the videos and from the activities that you'll do, and then be thinking about what makerspace item you could create an information sheet about. And then you'll have the information sheet assignment due on the 17th, but then you'll want to plan also to hold a makerspace for some students of some kind. Now, if you don't have your own classroom, or if you don't think this is an option for you, and you are local or close to our university, I might be able to help out with that too. We might hold some makerspace activities later in the semester with our partnership with Mike Miller Elementary School. So that may be a possibility as well. But do look into it, see if you can find something that you can do yourself. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the information sheet. So what I used to create this was just Pages, Apple's Pages program, and I used a newsletter format. I went and chose, the newsletter's already laid out this way, so all I had to do is change the text. You can do this also in Word. So I have Word here, and I can choose, instead of just opening a blank site, I can change to have a template, and choose a template like a newsletter is probably a pretty good one, and I can choose one of these that I think will work for my Makerspace experience. So I could say, oh, this one looks pretty good, or for my Makerspace information sheet. I could choose that one. And then, of course, instead of this being issue and title and the Latin text that it includes, I can change it to be the name of whatever Makerspace item I'm doing. I can change this picture to exhibit that item, and just go from there. I can delete page 2 because usually information sheets are only one page, and so forth. So that's how I do that. Okay, well, I think I've given you a lot this week, so I'll go ahead and stop, but wish you good luck for this week and start learning about makerspaces. Should be fun.